I used to look forward to Fridays. They were our thing. Lena and I would grab takeout, throw on a movie, and fall asleep halfway through it. It wasn't fancy, but it was ours. Until lately. Now, Fridays were just reminders that I ate dinner alone. She'd changed, not all at once, but piece by piece. The woman who once called me from grocery aisles, laughing over cereal choices, now texted like she was checking off a chore. At first, I blamed myself. I've been working long shifts at the architecture firm, trying to land a promotion that never seemed to come. Maybe I'd become distant. Maybe love fades when you're too tired to nurture it. But love doesn't fade that fast, not unless something else replaces it. It was a Tuesday when the first real crack appeared. Lena came home late, way past midnight. Her hair was perfect, makeup still fresh. When I asked how her client dinner went, she said exhausting and slipped straight into the shower without looking me in the eye. That night, she slept facing the wall. The next morning, I kissed her cheek before leaving for work. Her skin was cold, her smile mechanical, but I didn't say anything. I just kept pretending. Pretending was easier than facing the storm I could already feel brewing behind her polite words. Days turned into weeks. The work trips became frequent. Chicago last month, Dallas the week before, now apparently Denver. Each time her suitcase came back smelling of someone else's cologne, subtle but different. I knew that scent, not personally but instinctively. It wasn't mine. My best friend Cole told me I was overthinking it. She's ambitious, Dan. Maybe she's just climbing that corporate ladder. I wanted to believe that. God, I wanted to. But that fragile hope shattered one Thursday evening. Lena had said she'd be flying back that night. I had planned everything. Dinner, a clean house, her favorite wine. She didn't come home. No call, no text, nothing. I waited until my phone finally buzzed at 8:43 p.m. Hey, love. The trip got extended. I'll be back Sunday night. Don't wait up. I froze. My heart didn't break. It just stopped. I leaned against the counter, staring at that message like it was written in fire because 5 minutes before arrived, I had just seen something online that turned my stomach cold. Her company's official Instagram page, successful return from Denver project team. Every name on that list, every smiling face in the photo home. All except hers. I didn't reply right away. I just stared at her picture standing beside her boss Mark at some restaurant weeks ago. His hand was barely visible, resting on her lower back. I remember that same picture from before cropped differently. Now I knew why. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel hurt. I felt clear, crystal clear. That night, as the hum of the fridge filled the silence, I realized I'd been preparing for this moment without even knowing it. I'd been saving her lies like receipts. Every message, every photo, every late-night meeting, I had enough proof to burn the illusion she'd built. And I would, but I wouldn't scream. I wouldn't throw things. I'd make her face what she'd done in the one way she'd never forget by letting her destroy herself with her own lies. So, I typed slowly, deliberately. That's strange. Your company just posted their homecoming photos. Everyone's already back? I hit send and then I waited. 15 minutes later, my phone lit up. Her name flashed. The call came in, trembling, desperate, and soaked in panic. And for the first time in months, I smiled. Her call came through before I could even put the phone down. I watched the screen light up. Lena calling. Her name, once comforting, now looked foreign. I didn't answer. I let it ring once, twice, 3 times. Then I declined it. Seconds later, another call came and another. When I finally picked up, I didn't speak. I just let her voice fill the silence. Daniel. Oh my God, listen to me, please. It's not what you think, she stammered, words tumbling over each other. Her voice cracked between sobs. The trip, plans changed last minute. I can explain. I cut her off quietly, then explain. For a second, all I heard was her breathing. Uneven, trembling, guilty. Mark asked me to stay behind to handle a client issue, she said. The rest of the team flew back early. It wasn't planned, I swear. I didn't respond. Instead, I looked again at that company post still glowing on my screen, the captions celebrating the entire team's return. Every name, every tag, Lena's included. Strange, I said calmly. They tagged you in that photo. Her breath hitched. Daniel, I don't know why they did that. Maybe it's an old picture. Please, baby, you have to believe me. Baby, the word felt sour now, like a recycled script. I could have yelled, I could have cursed, but rage was too easy. Instead, I whispered, You know, Lena, the worst part isn't that you're lying. It's that you think I'm still the man who believes you. Then I hung up. The silence afterward was deafening, heavier than any argument. I stood in the kitchen staring at the dim reflection of myself in a microwave door. I didn't look angry. I looked resolved. That night, I opened my laptop. I began digging. Receipts, email confirmations, GPS history. If she thought I'd just crumble, she didn't know me at all. For 2 hours, I pieced together her puzzle. The weekend workshops, the unexplained charges at expensive restaurants, the hotel receipts under her name, but paid by someone else's card. Marks. By midnight, I had everything, and I knew exactly what to do. The next morning, I woke early, made coffee, dressed neatly like any other day. Routine kept me calm. Cole dropped by unannounced. He could read me like a book. Rough night? He asked, leaning on the doorway. I shrugged. You could say that? He frowned. You going to tell me what's going on? I hesitated, then slid my phone across the counter. He read the text thread and whistled low. She really said that. I nodded. Man, he ran a hand through his hair. What are you going to do? I sipped my coffee. Something she'll never forget, but something no one can blame me for. He blinked. You're scaring me a little. I smiled faintly. Good. By noon, I'd already made 2 calls, one to a private attorney and one to her company's HR department. I didn't have to tell them much, just enough for them to start looking into possible misconduct between a department head and a subordinate during business trips. By afternoon, I sent Lena a text. Calm, neutral. Hope you're safe. Let's talk when you're back. Dinner Monday. She replied instantly. Yes, please. I'll explain everything. I love you. I didn't answer, but inside my plan was already in motion. Sunday evening rolled around. Her car pulled into the driveway at 7:12 p.m. sharp. I was sitting on the couch, TV muted, a faint jazz playlist running in the background. The house smelled of lemon, polish, and quiet tension. The door opened. Her heels clicked softly on the tiles. She looked tired, deliberately tired, the way cheaters pretend exhaustion equals innocence. Hey, she said, forcing a smile. I missed you. I nodded toward her suitcase. Long trip, she hesitated. Yeah, really long. I stood and walked to her. For a second, her body softened, expecting a hug, but I just leaned close enough to whisper, You should sit. Her smile faded. Daniel, please sit, I repeated. My voice wasn't loud, but it carried weight. She obeyed, hands shaking. She sat on the edge of the couch. I placed my phone on the table, screen facing up. The photo was still open, her company's return post. Her face drained of color. Tell me again, I said, my tone even. Why you weren't in that flight back? Her lips parted, but no sound came out. I just want honesty, Lena. That's all I ever wanted, I continued. You know, I gave up promotions for this marriage. I gave up nights with friends. I gave up myself. And you gave him my weekends. Tears filled her eyes. Daniel, I'm sorry. It was a mistake. It didn't mean anything. I laughed softly. You don't get to decide what means something. Not anymore. She reached for my hand, but I pulled it away. I'm not here to scream or throw things. I said quietly. I'm here to let you know you broke something that can't be fixed. And now I'm going to walk away with the one thing you can't fake. My dignity. Her voice cracked. Please don't do this. I'll fix it. I'll tell him it's over. I shook my head. You already did that when you lied. Then I stood, walked upstairs, and left her sitting there, crying into her hands, surrounded by the silence she'd built herself. Little did she know, the dinner I planned for Monday wasn't for reconciliation. It was for exposure. And by then, she'd realized just how quiet revenge can sound before it explodes. Monday night came faster than I expected. The house felt strange, like a stage waiting for a performance no one wanted to see. Every clock tick, every small sound stretched time into a slow, deliberate rhythm. I didn't feel angry anymore. I just felt ready. I'd booked a dinner reservation at Haven's, the same restaurant where Lena and I had celebrated our FTH anniversary. The irony was deliberate. Back then, I'd given her a bracelet engraved with "Always Us." Now, I was about to remind her what us really meant, truth or nothing. She arrived before me. I saw her through the glass as I parked, sitting alone, fidgeting with her napkin, eyes darting toward the door every few seconds. Her hair was perfectly styled, the way she always looked when she wanted to control the narrative. I stepped inside, calm and composed. "Hey," I greeted softly. She stood quickly, smiling with forced brightness. "Daniel, thank you for coming." We sat. The waiter appeared, but I waved him off. I wasn't here for the food. She began talking fast, rehearsed. "I know what you think you saw, but things got complicated. Mark, he took things too far, and I was scared to tell you." Her voice trembled, eyes glossy, but carefully measured. I leaned back. "You're saying your boss coerced you?" She hesitated. That split second was enough to tell me. She was searching for the safest lie. I wouldn't say that exactly, but he kept pressuring me to spend more time with him outside of work. I didn't want to jeopardize my position. I nodded slowly, pretending to consider her words. "That must have been hard for you." She exhaled, relief flooding her face. I wanted to tell you so many times, but I didn't want you to think I was weak." I looked her dead in the eyes. "So all those nights away, the hotel receipts, the dinners, the trips, they were just word pressure throat bob," as she swallowed. "Yes, exactly that." I smiled faintly, then reached into my coat pocket. I placed an envelope on the table, thick, sealed, neat. "Then you won't mind if we talk about this at HR tomorrow." They seemed really interested in our conversation last Friday. Her face went pale. "You called HR?" I nodded. "In the ethics department. Apparently, company policy is pretty clear about employee conduct on business trips, especially when those trips are paid for by executives with personal motives." Her fork clattered against the plate. "Daniel, please, what did you do?" "Nothing illegal," I said softly. "Just told the truth." She leaned forward, panic, replacing her composure. "They'll fire me." "You don't understand that job." I cut her off gently. "I do understand. You loved it, maybe more than you ever loved me." For a moment, the restaurant noise seemed to fade into silence. Only the soft hum of the air conditioner and the distant clink of glasses remained. She whispered, "You're doing this to punish me." I shook my head. "No, I'm doing this to end the illusion. You chose deceit, Lena. I'm just making sure the world sees it for what it is." Her eyes welled up again. "Please, Daniel, don't ruin my career. I made a mistake. I lost myself for a while, but you're my home. I'll do anything to fix this." For the first time, I almost believed her. But then I remembered the quiet nights alone, the cold excuses, the perfume that wasn't mine. I remember how easy it had been for her to lie through a text while standing in another man's arms. I looked at her bracelet, still the same one I'd given her years ago. The words, "Always Us," glinted under the restaurant lights. "It's not my job to ruin your career," I said calmly. "It's my job to walk away from what ruins my peace." Her breath caught. "So that's it. You're just done." I nodded completely. I slid a document across the table, a clean, crisp divorce agreement. My lawyer had sent it that morning. She stared at it like it was a foreign object. "You already planned this." I smiled faintly. "I planned this the moment you thought I was too blind to notice." Tears rolled down her cheeks. "Daniel, please." "I can change." "You already did," I said. "Just not for me." I stood up, tucked my hands in my pockets, and took one last look at her, the woman I'd once built my world around. She looked small now. Not because she was weak, but because the truth had finally stripped away everything false. "Goodbye, Lena," I said quietly. "And good luck. You'll need it when HR calls in the morning." Then I walked outside. The night air felt colder than usual, but it was the kind of cold that wakes you up, sharp, honest, clean. I stood by my car for a moment, letting the city lights wash over me. I didn't feel proud. I didn't feel victorious. I felt free for once. The silence didn't hurt. It felt like closure. As I drove home, I thought about what came next. Healing wasn't instant, and revenge didn't erase pain. But there was something deeply satisfying about truth, about finally being the man who refused to stay quiet. And while she'd spend her days explaining herself to HR and colleagues who once respected her, I'd spend mine rebuilding. Not a marriage, but myself. because sometimes the best revenge isn't shouting or destruction. It's simply walking away whole while the other person drowns in their own lies. The days that followed were strangely peaceful. The noise of heartbreak had faded, leaving behind something quieter, like the air after a storm. I'd moved into a small apartment downtown. Nothing fancy, just enough space for me and a few essentials. A worn leather couch, my coffee mug, the old guitar I'd barely touched in years. At first, the silence was awkward. Mornings without Lena's footsteps felt hollow. Evenings stretched endlessly. But then slowly that silence turned into something different. Space. Breathing room. I started running again. Early mornings before the city woke up, the rhythm of my shoes against the pavement became therapy. Each mile felt like shedding another layer of what I carried for too long. Sometimes memories tried to sneak in. The laughter, the vacations, the nights we spent dreaming about our future. But instead of fighting them, I'll let them pass. They're ghosts now, not anchors. One Saturday, Cole showed up with pizza and a couple of beers. He dropped the box on the table and gave me that look only best friends can give. Half concern, half relief. "Man, you look different," he said. I laughed. "Older." He shook his head. "Free." We talked for hours. Not about Lena, about everything else. Work, life, the future. It felt good to laugh again, real laughter, not the hollow kind you fake to survive. Later that week, I got an email from the HR director of Lena's company. Short and professional. "Following the internal review, we've addressed the concerns raised. Thank you for your cooperation." That was it. No details. I didn't need them. I wasn't after vengeance anymore. I just wanted accountability and maybe deep down closure for both of us. Lena tried to reach out a few times after that. A couple of texts, one voicemail I never played. I didn't hate her. I didn't even wish her harm. I just didn't want to live in a story built on lies anymore. Instead, I focused on my work again. Projects that had once felt heavy now felt purposeful. I poured everything into them, the precision, the patience, the quiet discipline that had always been mine. A few months later, I landed the promotion I'd chased for years. The same week, I bought a small cabin 2 hours outside the city by a lake surrounded by pine trees. It wasn't an escape. It was a promise to live differently. Honestly, sometimes when I sit on that porch with a cup of coffee in hand and the morning fog rolling across the water, I think about how life can burn you down just to rebuild you stronger. I learned something through all this. Betrayal doesn't define you. Reaction does. And silence, when used right, can be the loudest revenge of all. One evening while locking up the cabin, I got a message from an unknown number. Just 2 words, "I'm sorry." I stood there for a long time, the cool wind brushing against my face. Then I smiled faintly and deleted it. Forgiveness didn't mean forgetting. It meant refusing to let the pain own me anymore. As I watched the sun dip behind the trees, painting the sky in golden violet, I finally understood something I hadn't before. Love doesn't die because someone breaks it. It dies when you stop loving yourself enough to walk away. And I had walked away completely, quietly, and